Oh, Tolu, thank you so much for that very, very kind introduction. And I'll tell you a little bit. I'm Nermine Zakhary, founder and Chief Empowerment Officer of Strengths Edge, and I'm so pleased to be here with all of you today. So I'm going to dive right in and tell you a little bit more about myself as we continue on. My goal in our time together is to convince you that your strengths serve as your greatest opportunity for personal and team excellence and fulfillment. I want you to imagine where you and your team could be if you applied your strengths every day. To spark some thoughts, let me ask you a few questions. In an interview setting, have you ever asked or have been asked, what are your strengths and weaknesses? What are the responses? Are you or others able to get specific enough to differentiate from other candidates? Or is the response the very generic, I like to work with people, or I'm good with numbers, and just left at that? At the end of the day, do you feel fulfilled? On your drive home or the walk from your home office to the kitchen, do you say, it was an awesome day? The work I did today is really making a difference for my client or for my team. Finally, is there more that you want to bring on? Are there days when you feel that you're just going through the motions, or perhaps that you and or your team aren't all in like you used to be? You may feel there is more that you all can contribute, a place where you'd really like to make an impact. In every section of our conversation today, I'm going to give you an exercise or time to reflect instead of just lecturing. I hope that's okay with you. And so let me share with you what we'll cover today. And we're going to explore the following. Why look at strengths in the first place? Secondly, we're going to look at a little bit of history. Where did the concept come from, and what do we know today? And then finally, we'll talk about how to get started with strengths. Some logistics. Midway, we'll stop for a few moments to check in, look at the chat, take some questions. And at the end, we'll do a drawing. The lucky winner will get the copy of a special book. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. So there is definitely a lot more to learn than we can cover in our short time together. So I will make sure that you know how to stay connected with me, because I will so look forward to that. All right. Why is this topic important to you? Please feel free to unmute and share, or type your thoughts in the chat.
For me, I feel that the ability to leverage your strength, just like the topic says, it's one way to living your best life. But first of all, do people know how to identify what their strengths are? That's number one. Then secondly, how do you now leverage the strength, considering a lot of things going on around you? You know, the community. I mean, for someone like me, I'm a migrant. You go into a new country, how do you leverage your strength and things like that? So maybe I was like, maybe this will help me to not just, I mean, I know what my own strengths are, but how do I leverage my strengths considering every other thing going on around me?
Well, I love that. I love that. How do we identify our strengths? We're going to talk about that. How do we leverage them? We're going to talk about that as well. So I love that that's where you're taking us. And Sarita is sharing, it'll help me feel confident. Yes, in using my strengths to my advantage. Absolutely. The best thing about focusing on our strengths instead of our weaknesses is the confidence that we acquire, and sitting up a little bit taller in our chairs. I love that. Thank you. Very good. So I'm going to stop sharing here for a moment and just chat with you for a moment. I am passionate about helping people see their unique gifts and own their value. I remember when I was introduced to the Clifton Strengths Assessment and uncovered my strengths, almost exactly 10 years ago now. I began to see how they contributed to my growth and my accomplishments, and also how they often got in my way. I started to understand so much about my past. I finally stopped coming down so hard on myself and started to appreciate my gifts, to own them, versus wishing I could be like someone else. And that's when I knew I was really onto something. Today, as a strengths and positive intelligence coach, I help people figure out who they are so they can own it, articulate it, and go do it on purpose by shifting the conversation from weakness fixing to strengths building. We learn how to apply our strengths to increase our performance, to enjoy our relationships, and find creative ways to solve problems. And then we figure out how to stay in that positive mindset for the long haul. I've personally gone on this journey. And let me come back to my share here. You can you see my screen? We're
Yes,
good? Okay. And this is the journey that I take my clients on. This is the Strengths Edge approach to help clients own their value and live on purpose. So here's the process. It all starts with uncovering our natural talents via the Clifton Strengths Assessment. Next, we learn about what effective strengths use looks like. Next, we get clear on who we are. We call that self-acuity. Then we learn about what's special and unique about others, how to appreciate and leverage their gifts. We call that others' acuity. And then we move into positive intelligence, which is what ensures the lifelong application of strengths. Our focus today will be to touch on the first critical part of the journey, that is becoming fluent in the language of strengths. Why look at strengths? These 6 human needs are not desires or wants. They are psychological needs that we constantly work to satisfy on a mostly unconscious level of awareness. They are, as you see here, certainty, uncertainty, and variety, significance, connection and love, growth, and contribution. Actually, let me go back one second. Anthony Robbins, world-renowned entrepreneur, author, and peak performance strategist, is quoted to say that the force of life is the drive for fulfillment. We all have a need to experience a life of meaning. And fulfillment can only be achieved when we're living focused on these 2 needs. That is, the need to continuously grow and the need to contribute beyond ourselves in a meaningful way. Now, there's a reason we may feel we haven't quite achieved this yet, that we still have some unmet needs. You see, from early in our lives, we are taught to believe that we should always do our best, that we can fix our flaws, that we can overcome whatever stands in our way, and that we can be and do anything we want if we put our minds to it and work hard at achieving it. As individuals, we expect that if we act on this belief with vigilance, we will ultimately be successful and happy in our careers and in our relationships, in our lives. However, what we often experience is that things haven't quite worked out the way we planned or the way that we wanted, and we don't know why. The thing is, so experts and researchers in the field have uncovered 3 myths which persist in both our personal lives and in the world of business, each of which has the potential to drain our personal effectiveness if we believe them. Have you ever believed any of these? Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing your thoughts. And let me share with you what we know to be true. The truth is, as you grow, you become more of who you already are, right? Your values, your skills, your self-awareness, and some of your behaviors, yes, may change, but the most dominant aspects of your personality will remain the same. Secondly, you will grow the most in your areas of greatest strength. You will be the most inquisitive, the most resilient, the most creative, and the most open to learning in your areas of strength. And then finally, Sarita, a good team member deliberately volunteers his or her strengths to the team most of the time. And here's why. A great team member is not well-rounded. The great team is well-rounded precisely because each great team member is not. I hope that resonates with you, and that if we've helped shift a little, we've busted some of the myths. So instead, my friends, it is better to focus on what is right with us and to avoid expending our emotions, our intellect, and our energy on our shortcomings. When we can more effectively achieve excellence and greatness by harnessing the power of our personal strengths, we will get the greatest return on investment when we put our energy and our effort into areas of natural talent, as opposed to investing in areas where there is only marginal growth potential. In fact, when individuals know, understand, and use their strengths every day, they can expect productivity to be higher, individual performance to be higher, expected to have 6 times higher engagement at work, high teamwork. In fact, they will be likely to be part of a high performing team, because when we land on our strengths, it has this, it's contagious. It has this ripple effect. I know my strengths, and I start to explore the strengths of the people around me, and I invite their strengths to come into our workspace and our time together. And then they love that and they go do the same. It has this beautiful, beautiful ripple effect. I worked with Christine while she was interviewing. One of her big takeaways in our work together was that all of her strengths were at play in her greatest successes. It was such a big aha moment for her. So the invitation for you is to consider, which of the truths about strengths will you embrace today? So shifting to our exercise here. If you have a sheet of paper and a pen and ready to just to jot down some ideas, I'd love for you to think back over the last couple of weeks and consider, what activities did you look forward to? Did you enjoy, or that made you feel strong? I'd love for you to we'll take a moment here, write them down and hang on to them. We'll refer to them again in a little bit. I'll give you a moment to give that some thought. All right. Certainly, as we're continuing on, if something pops into your mind, be sure to jot it down and capture it. So thank you for doing that. And let's continue. Remember, your strengths serve as your best opportunity for personal and team excellence and fulfillment. Imagine where you and your team could be if you applied your strengths every day. So let's shift to where and what about strengths. Where did the concept come from anyways? And let's find out. Psychologists back in the day realized all they knew about people is what's wrong with them. They had labels for all of our maladies, for our diseases. Then they started to notice pockets of excellence, moments of extraordinary performance, and they realized we don't know anything about that. Donald Clifton, now called the father of strengths-based psychology and the grandfather of positive psychology, had the audacity to ask this question. What will happen when we think about what's right with people rather than fixating on what's wrong with them? This one question launched a worldwide research project, which led to the development of a universal language for the descriptions of 34 general talent themes. That is, hundreds and hundreds of talents were encompassed and grouped accordingly. And it also led to the development of the Clifton Strengths Assessment, which upon completion ranks all 34 talent themes for you in the order of dominance. And for your initial investment, it reports back to you your top 5 talent themes out of the 34, which is all you need to get started on your personal strengths journey. So excited. I'm again very grateful that I have the opportunity to share this with you. And the strengths movement is now in full bloom. It's in all disciplines, profits, nonprofits, universities, Major League Soccer. They teach referees how to call out positive, make positive calls instead of giving the red and yellow punitive cards to players, which I think is just fabulous. And now more than 30 million people, we just crossed over to 30 in the last few months. 30 million people have completed the Clifton Strengths Assessment. We are clearly hungry, and we feel a deep need to label what is right with us. Yet in recent polls, still only 17% of us are playing to our strengths most of the time. It seems we might still be stuck at the labeling stage. Let's consider conversations at work. When employees are asked about discussions around performance, what do you spend the most of your time talking about, strengths or weaknesses? 35% say weaknesses. 40%, my manager doesn't talk to me about these things. Only 25% say they talk about strengths. A nationally represented sample of the workforce was asked what their ideal job is. So as you can see here, 60% said either what I'm doing now with increased responsibility or a specialized subset of what I'm doing. Only 31% said a different job. So it's true. So some people have been miscast, but most people are close. Where I'd like to draw your attention, though, is to the second bullet below. When asked how often they feel an emotional high at work, only 51% said about once a week. Friends, that's half of us or our teams only once a week getting excited about our work. We can't win on once a week. I want you to imagine what could change if you and or your team were excited even 3 times per week. What would become possible? Brianna started to feel the itch. She was ready to move on to the next big thing. And strengths coaching helped her shift her focus to a career path that best suited her strengths. It was no longer a job hunt, rather a search for the best fit. I want you to know how special you are. Did you know that you can do one thing better than 10,000 other people? And the chances that you will find someone in this with the same top 5 strengths that you have in the same order is 1 in 33 million. Now, when we extrapolate that out to your top 10 strengths, which you have ready access to, the chances are 1 in 427 trillion. You are unique, and you have something important and significant to contribute to our world. Your strengths serve as your best opportunity for personal and team excellence and fulfillment. Imagine where you and your team could be if you applied your strengths every day. Once again, this is the journey from Clifton strengths to self-acuity, others' acuity, and then to positive intelligence. So I'd love to stop here for a moment and ask, what have you discovered? What questions do you have? What is appealing to you about this way of showing up? And we can take 2 minutes for some quick comments.
Yeah, I have a question basically. One of the previous slides you shared, I think you said that only, is it 35% or is it 70%? I can't remember the number now, of people play to their strength. Why is that? I mean, considering the fact that we all know that when you play to your strength, you can live your best life. So why don't people play to their strengths?
Oh, I think that is a wonderful question. And I think we'll address it in the next portion of our conversation. There are so many things that first, sometimes we don't even know. We don't know what they are. It's hard to see. When our strengths are so innate to us, we think that it's something everybody can do. And then sometimes, because it's so comfortable there, we tend to overuse them. And when we overuse them, you're going to see what happens. They become a little bit less effective. So we might be playing to our strengths, but if we're overdoing it, we're not demonstrating as effectively as we could be. And we might let other people down, we let ourselves down. So there's so many factors. So many factors, from whether or not I know what they are and how I am actually using them. And you'll see a little bit more as we continue on.
I also was involved in an assessment around that as well, around how, when placed under pressure, basically it was around how you use your dominant strengths when you're under pressure. And the result of that is that your dominant strength naturally overplays itself in a way that it then becomes in itself a hindrance to the actualization of results. So it's also a good thing to know what that dominant strength is, and if it's overshadowing the balance within a setting as well. In that particular scenario, it was in a team setting, and it was quite interesting because when the map was done and everybody's sort of dominant strength was spiked, and then we put the picture of the team together, it was a crazy team, you know. It was not a balanced team at all, because everybody was just like, you know, it was almost like, you know, if you have the waves just bouncing off each other. So sometimes it's the awareness of the strength, and when it's being overused is also quite important.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And so clearly that was demonstrated, it became evident and obvious to all of the participants then in that space. Yeah, thank you, Tolu. That's a different way to look at it as well. So thank you. All right. With your permission, I will continue on in the interest of time. So how do we get started with strengths? First, let's take a step back and define a strength. It starts with your innate talents. That is the ways that you naturally think, feel, and behave. When you invest in your talents by increasing your knowledge, gaining skills, and practicing, you produce a strength, which is the ability to consistently provide near perfect performance in a specific activity. People Acuity, the organization I certified with, takes it a step further and adds the element of energy to the mix and suggests that we are our best selves in our optimal zone. That is when we're experiencing both high energy and high performance for self and for others. Now, we all understand that low performance coupled with low energy is probably an area of weakness, right? Not somewhere that we want to be. Now, I can have high energy for an activity and low performance. So, oh no, here comes Nermine again. So leaving a trail of dead bodies is not a sign of a strength. Or I can demonstrate high performance in an activity and absolutely dread doing it. There's just absolutely low energy. It's draining. And that's definitely not my optimal zone. I want to be at both high energy and high performance to really show up at and be my best. Optimal zone is where my strengths are fully at play. So what are some things you can do right now to discover your strengths? The invitation to you is to start noticing the activities that you are naturally drawn to. Where does learning come easy for you? Or when you feel that deep satisfaction, contentment, timelessness, you're so engrossed that you lose all track of time. And then there are those glimpses of excellence when you look back and say, wow, I just did that. In strengths-based leadership, the authors organized the 34 talent themes into 4 domains of leadership strength. Each domain describes how strengths can be leveraged in leadership for the effectiveness of the organization or any group that you are in. The first 2 are task-oriented, strategic thinking and executing. The second 2 are relationship-oriented, that is influencing and relationship building. So in essence, our strategic thinkers keep us focused on what could be. Folks with executing strengths know how to make things happen. Our influencers sell the team's ideas inside and outside the organization, and our relationship builders are the essential glue that hold the team together. And strengths-based, as we continue, now a foundational concept here that is required to advance in the application of strengths is that each of our strengths has a specific, the first step of this foundational concept is that our strengths have specific contributions that they make. You'll see here a list of the contributions for each of the 4 domains. These are very high level. Each of your strengths of each of the 34 have very specific contributions they make. This is a high level general overview. And you'll see here strategic thinkers create possibilities, provide us with direction, information, and ideas. Executing, they give us the concrete reality, details, goals, processes. Our influencers are the ones who convince, ignite, enroll, and energize us. And our relationship builders connect, invite, listen, and accept. And as you take a look at these contributions, I'd love for you to think about the activities that you wrote down in our activity earlier. And I'm just really curious if you find similarities in the things that you enjoy, look forward to, and that make you feel strong compared to the contributions here that you might have personally identified with as I was calling them out. What are your thoughts? Are you seeing any correlation? feel free to unmute and share if there's something that comes to mind. Okay, let me continue and let's finish. The second half of the foundational concept is that in order for you to make these awesome contributions, certain needs and conditions need to be met. For example, our strategic thinkers need the room to imagine. They need that high level why and what to give and share information, to explore ideas and their meaning. Folks with executing strengths, they provide us with the details and the processes. Look at what they need in return. They need things to be practical and applicable. They need step-by-step goals, systems and processes and rules. Our influencers are the ones who energize and enroll. They need to be able to verbally process their ideas, to be connected to something important. They need validation, and just like they provide us with energy, they need energy. And our relationship builders need authentic relationship. They need encouragement. They're amazing listeners. They also need listening. And they need to be in a place, in a relationship where there's non-judgment. Here's the thing. The needs of our strengths can tip us up or down. What happens when the needs of my strengths are not met? I can do one of these three things. First, I might feel all I can do is shove my thoughts, my ideas, and my contributions under the rug. No one cares. So I might just be waiting for the world to respond. Secondly, when my needs aren't met, perhaps I'll just go overboard and I will take control. What happens then is I trample over other people, their feelings, and I might leave some burnt ashes along the way. Or thirdly, I might decide I just don't even care and I do nothing. Or what I do just becomes a transaction without any meaning or feeling. Any of these three result in a frustration. A frustration is an unmet need. Can you relate to a time when your needs were not met? What else causes frustration? When I'm forced to perform in an area of non-strength that is a draining, unsatisfying activity, or I'm working with others who have opposite strengths. That is, when we don't understand each other, when I can't see and or appreciate the other's strengths. What happens is we jump to conclusions. We make judgments. Conflicts can arise. We're quick to blame and become defensive. Have you ever been in one of those situations at work or at home? And at the end of the day, what does it look like? That frustration shows up as a weakness. And our weaknesses and our frustrations manifest when we're trying to be or do something we're not. So instead, be authentic you. Be the best version of yourself. Do you. And there's good news. Our strengths serve as our best opportunity for personal and team excellence and fulfillment. Imagine where you and your team could be if you applied your strengths every day. Sydney loved looking at strengths to find creative ways to solve problems, helped her see them through a different lens, and stayed true to herself in the process. She knows she has what it takes to get unstuck and move forward, which is so important, especially in these crazy times. So what's next? What's next for you? You might be thinking, okay, this is great for Christine and Brianna and Sydney. Let's create some clear next steps together to ensure that lasting impact from the time that we just spent together, to take the first steps to achieve similar results. So first, consider what is one bite-sized action that you can take. Take a moment now and look over your notes and write it down. What's one thing that you can do? Wonderful. So bite-sized is great, but let's imagine something bigger, shall we? I invite you to close your eyes and take a breath. Imagine the flow of your day, your week, all of your interactions. Things are humming along. The angst and worry are gone. You're feeling a sense of comfort and peace, secure. There's a palpable excitement about your day. You're making an impact. You're doing work that's making a difference. It's meaningful and fulfilling. You feel accomplished. You've worked hard to get here and now see the results of your labors, the fruits of your labors. Happiness abounds. You appreciate the special people in your world, and they appreciate you back. You're truly enjoying your relationships. Confidence soars. You know what you bring to the table, and you get to express it every day. Show up at your best. Your energy and your performance are through the roof. You're producing results that you can be proud of, results that are being recognized. And when difficulties arise, you know that you can, with a level head, work through anything. You've got this. I invite you to open your eyes and take a breath. Is that a vision that you can get excited about? Wonderful. So now that we are clear and inspired, the next question is how do you stay focused and motivated when you leave our Zoom session today and head back into the rest of your day? I know what your inbox looks like. The reality is that the focus that you have right now can go out the window within minutes, if not seconds, of ending our call. So at this point, it's important to identify what kind of support you have to help you implement and stay on track. When you're thinking about what you want and need, who do you have in your corner who has accomplished what you want to accomplish and is there for you when you need them? Some of you may have a coach or a mentor already, but for those of you who don't, I invite you to consider working with me. Now, this isn't for everyone. If you want to be more clear about who you are, to own your value and discover ways to go do and be on purpose, let's talk. Simply schedule a call with me to explore working together further. You'll see, thank you, Tolu, put the Calendly link in the chat. This call is complimentary, and there are a limited number. They're reserved for people who want to live and lead from strengths and a positive mindset, are ready to put themselves out there and invest in themselves and or their team. They're decisive, driven, and willing to work. This call is a great option for you if you're feeling stuck, or if you know you need some kind of support but can't really picture what that would look like. So if that sounds like you, on this call, I'll walk you through a process to get clear on what it is you do need. Then we'll decide together how to help you maximize those opportunities. I take this time because working together is an investment of time and money, and I want you to be 100% confident that I'm the right fit for you. So to schedule your call, go to the Calendly link. It's a simple scheduling page. Pick the day and the most convenient time, and boom, you're done. One less thing to worry about, and it puts you first in line. And in case you're thinking, this sounds interesting, maybe I'll do it later, I want to give you an incentive to do it right now, so that all of this good intention and clarity doesn't get lost in the shuffle. So book your call today, and you will get copies of 2 of my favorite coaching tools to help you start noticing and start tuning into your strengths for creative problem solving. Are there any questions about the purpose of the call?